Well, it is time to make some more progress on the Nemesis R1. Today, I think I'm going to try to figure out how to get this e-brake configuration all working. I've got a bunch of the different parts that I need. I already know one of the cables I'm going to have to make a little bit longer because it's not going to reach to the one corner. But overall, I think things should work out. It's going to be another boiling hot day in here, so we're going to sweat it out. But I'm going to take a look at the kit, and then we're going to see how this is all going to install on the car. All right, lots of parts, and to be perfectly honest, I really have no idea how this is all going to go together, so it's going to be a little bit of an experiment to figure out everything. So to start off with, we've got two cables to go from the actual handle back to the emergency brakes themselves. Then we've got a few different brackets that we have here, and the actual Wilwood e-brake calipers themselves with a lever on them, which I'm assuming is supposed to do something. So we'll figure that one out as well. Little brake pads that go inside of there. We've got the bracket that's going to hold the lever into the side of the car. Some various different connectors that I believe are for the kit, but we will find out. So first thing is really pulling the wheel off and figuring out where exactly and where the hell all of this stuff actually goes on the car. And I'll probably look up some stuff online to figure out exactly how this is supposed to be assembled. But we've got lots of parts, we've got the car, so now we just need to figure it out. All right, I think I know what is going on here. So this extra piece, and there's two of them provided, looks like if you need it as a spacer, you can put a spacer in here for a thicker rotor on the back. For the rotors that I'm running on here, I'm not going to need that spacer. I think the regular spacers that come with the caliper are fine. The other thing is, so essentially the system is set up as a floating caliper kit. So these things, literally the calipers lay loose for the most part, except for this bracket. So if you can see, the bracket actually slots into these side slots on the side of the caliper here and here, if I can get this to work. And that's what holds the caliper sturdy from torquing back and forth. The cable connects onto the end of this, and that piston will then put onto the push the pad on. So essentially, this is kind of the setup. You've got your bracket. I'm flopping everything around here. You've got your bracket, holds the caliper on. The caliper's pads and everything on the inside are kind of, I wouldn't say snugged up against the rotor, but you're tightening in the pad here to be able to hold it in against the rotor. And that's what holds everything in place. Essentially, that's it. And these extra tabs here that notch into the sides of the caliper stop it from turning and twisting when you're actually pulling on it. Now, it looks then that the ends of these cables then connect onto the end of the caliper, and then you need to find a sturdy place somewhere to be able to connect here so that it's using the tension of the spring to be able to pull against those to provide pressure against it. And then you can adjust that pressure however you see fit, and being able to pull that cable then. I think these cables are the same length, because essentially what needs to happen is these need to get stacked on top of each other, similar to what I had done in the Batmobile with the two cables. And then there's a joining cable that takes the two of those that then goes and heads off to the actual handle itself. So first step, looks like I'm going to have to essentially take this bracket, put it up against the vehicle here, and I'm going to have to essentially drill and tap the two connecting points onto the, you can see I've got it marked here. So get the first one in drilled and tapped, and that allows us to get the bracket held tight on here. Then essentially the rotor comes off. You can try and slide the caliper into this mounting thing, or the caliper itself will come apart with the two connecting bolts coming straight through. And then you can slide your pads in, sandwich everything together, and tighten everything up so that there's no flex in the caliper. So that's the plan. I'm going to start off first by figuring out what hardware I'm wanting to put in there to drill and tap those onto the rear spindles, and we'll get working. Alright, we've got the bracket in place here. You can see we've got our connecting screw at the bottom. I used actually one of the ones that were used also for the chassis that holds the different connection pieces together for the cage. I figured it was a good strong bolt and a good one. So I'll just get some extra of those. So we'll pick them up at Fastenal, and then the same thing here, all drilled and tapped, so that we're able to get everything all fastened on there with the bracket. So next is just getting the rotor back on and buttoning everything up and seeing how it all fits. And we have a problem. As you can see here, not enough clearance between the bracket and the rotor. So now that things are fastened down snug, we can see that there's no clearance there. Now, what I'm just going to do is I'm going to grind away the bottom of those tabs to give me clearance around the rotor, and that should take care of our problem. So I'll get to that and we'll see how it turns out. Okay, everything is all back on, snugged in place. We've got lots of clearance. Actually, the play on the caliper isn't as bad as I thought it would be. It's a floating caliper, so it's meant to kind of float like this, and the pressure set with the set screw on the back here is how much kind of play that you have. The next bit is really trying to get the E-brake cable. So this is going to connect onto the back here, and then we've got this spring. Now, the spring is a generic length. Because I need to pull back this way, I can't use that full length of spring. So I think what I'm going to do is create a bracket off the back here so I can hold the cable right about here. And by holding that cable there, I'm able to then run it straight shot across over to the lever, remove some of the different springs out of here to shorten that up, and then run that back, and it'll give me more cable coming out the other end. The reason why I say I should be able to shorten that is because this is the amount of play that we have on the lever. That's the play until it actually stops things for the parking brake. So there's not a lot of pushback it needs to have on that cable, and I should be able to adjust the tension of that spring just with these threads here on where it actually connects. So in general, it should work. Need to build the bracket and see if everything comes true. right, left-hand side is all taken care of. We've got our adapter plate here on the bottom of the lever for the e-brake. Shortened up the spring coming across here. I could probably even shorten it a little bit more if I wanted to, but everything seems to be nice there. Pull on the cable and, well, the lever moves, which is a good thing. On the back-end side, created my adapter plate here. So essentially picked up the 2 points of the caliper connection and just built a little bracket notched out around one of the other connectors here down to be able to get my straight shot on and across. So we'll see whether or not I need to cut some more out of this spring, but for now everything seems to be pretty good from a mock-up perspective. And then my cable runs along under the suspension, under the transmission, and then we'll end up over on the other side over there into a bracket where I'll then run basically a 2-for-1 connection down to the cable heading to the emergency brake handle. Now, it's not gonna move a whole lot, that handle, because there's not a lot of play in this cable. But it just needs to work. I'm not gonna be doing e-brake slides or anything like that. And that's really just all there is from a leverage on that cable. So everything seems to be good. So now, next thing is basically rinsing and repeating. Heading over to the right-hand side of the car, doing the exact same thing. So all the same steps, drilling, tapping, making sure that all the clearance is ready to go. Hopefully the fact that I'm doing it for the second time makes things go a little bit quicker, but I won't bore you with seeing me do the other side of the car. So we'll get that all buttoned up, and then next video we'll take on a new project.